Anybody ever had a question? Always been the answer, giving you candor. In my zone, give you my dander. I hustle, I know what you like, I aim and I pander. I keep the pure essence in you, tainting you tamper. Since I've been in a pamper, been a mogul, I've been mobile. They slept and I reloaded, wet versus super soaked them. Never said that I was wholesome, did my dirt all by my lonesome. I came back solid, shit scathed my pockets. I plugged in and blue sockets found my...
Virginia native Tiff the Gift is one of my favorite artists of all time. It's incredible to have her here. Her lyrics are beautiful and contain layers of meaning brought to life by her excellent flow. You can check out her recent singles, Today Sky and Until Still, on all streaming platforms now. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm actually really honored to have you here.
Yeah, hey, I'm honored to be here. I appreciate it, man. I always appreciate the platform.
Could you explain the background to the name Tiff the Gift? Does it still contain the same meaning that it did originally for you?
It does. It does. I went through a few names. You know, when you're young, like I've been around this since I was a kid. So when you're young, you go through a whole bunch of names. And we were going through names one time, and I had a whole bunch of ridiculous ones. And then we finally settled on Tiff the Gift. Basically, there's no real deep meaning behind it. I just felt like I was, at the time, I was into a lot of different things, be it musically or artistically, and school. And my brother and actually A1 felt like the gift would be great for what I was going through at the time, because he was like, it has to be a gift for you to be able to do 50 billion things at one time and still really, really want to rhyme.
What most frequently inspires you to make music, and how does your writing process work?
I think it changes over time. I think the motivation and inspiration for writing is constantly evolving. And I think that's what makes this art form so fun. And because it's dynamic, you know, so every day, I mean, obviously real life, we always talk about that as artists. I think most artists that you talk to, everyday life will inspire you and motivate you to write. So my process, I mean, I'm one of those people that pick up and kind of write anywhere. And when you have 3 kids and, and a husband that rhymes, you kind of pick up that inspiration very much so easily. Good times, tough times, whatever, just what I see. And lately, once people really picked up on the music a little bit more, and, you know, I get messages saying, hey, this is great, or like messages from you where you're like, yo, I think your content is dope. I hope it doesn't sound corny or cliche or whatever, but those are the times that I write the most. Like when I get those messages, I sit down and say, okay, maybe I should keep going. Because, you know, everybody gets uninspired too. Mm-hmm. So those messages are inspirational, and they give me that go ahead and that nudge to say, hey, let me up your confidence a little bit. You can go ahead and write, Tiff. That's like my alter ego telling me to keep doing it.
You spoke into the idea that it gets greater later was a phrase of important connection to your mother. Basically, the idea that things will eventually be better. And what does that mean to you now?
The same thing it always did. You know, every time I would be going through something tough, like my mother and I were always really, really close. And she would just throw that out there like, hey, it gets greater later. Everything in life is temporary. Everything is relative. And if you do life right, like if you actually do it right and live, things will absolutely get greater later. If you are actively just living and actively trying to make a better situation, it will happen. So that's how I keep my spirits up too. So yeah, it actually means the same thing it did initially.
It's really beautiful. I think I'm going to have to keep that phrase in mind when I'm going about my everyday life too.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea, because some things will try to make you break in this life. But that mentality and that thought process my mom had was so dope to me. And it was one of the best parts about her. Mm-hmm. You know, tomorrow was always a thing for her. It's like, hey, the day will be over. It's 24 hours. So you got a whole nother day tomorrow to wake up and do it better.
Just Don't Sleep records represent you at this point?
Man, for me, because of the background and because of, you know, what I know and my knowledge of Don't Sleep, it's a representation of growth. It's like the epitome of the dynamics of what we do every day. So Don't Sleep, it can be used interchangeably, because we do literally rarely sleep. All of us have like these insomnia problems. So, I mean, that's the surface of it. So all of us as artists like Phonics, A1, Anti-Lily, Deflo, we've always all been like night owls. So don't sleep means that too. But to me and for me, it means a whole lot of growth. You know, I know what it took to lead up to A1 finally making a decision to say, hey, I want to do this and I want to be the face of something great when it comes to music. And I want to own everything I do. I want to be able to say yes and I want to be able to say no. And to do that, it takes losing sleep and being willing to keep pushing. So yeah, it means a lot of things. But yeah, for sure, that's what it's meaning these days.
Hearing the way you speak about A1, I think is really empowering for me. I really appreciate your collaborations with them. And I always feel very comforted to see artists having fun and being competitive. When you think about a strong relationship, especially one in creative fields, what's the most important piece of advice you could share about that?
Oh, that's extremely important. Like you have to have that, like this is one field where like minds are very necessary. Having people that motivate you. And like you said, the competitive component, you know, like we're all extremely competitive people. So I'm not ashamed to say that when we're sitting around writing, I'm trying to be the best every time. And I think I have a little something extra to prove because they always seem to let women fall by the wayside. So with that being said, like I have that extra oomph. And if I don't have competitive people around me, and I need people who are competitive and not yes men. Like I need you to tell me when something is whack, you know, so I don't go out and embarrass me or anybody else. But competition is what this genre is based upon. Like there is not one MC who has not said in some way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it be using synonyms or just flat out saying, I'm the best. You have to have that thought process.
Is there a particular point where you feel that you really were performing at that best, or where you felt as though you were able to push through on that creative side of things?
I think recently, I think the work I'm doing now is that point of going my hardest and really having no inhibitions when it comes to this. Because, you know, I've gotten away, the stage fright that was gone a long time ago, almost as a kid. The building up your delivery and your confidence and kind of quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes, quote unquote paying dues, that's over now. So at your highest level of confidence, you feel like you've done those things. And they are the core and foundation, you know, paying the dues, being shy or being not afraid to speak, but being in a position where you feel like you should watch what you say, or, you know, just like I said, you hear your playbacks, and I have some things that I'm not ultra proud of that I've done before. So I think now I feel like I'm at my height, and I've had enough life experiences now. You know what I mean? Like I've been through quite a bit, you know. So now I have a plethora of topics to write about. So I think I'm working at my best right now, and I'm anxious to see how this whole project unfolds.
So what do you think about the concept of building generational love in Black communities, especially as it relates to raising your children?
I think that's extremely important. I think passing along the importance of knowledge of self to your children when you have Black children, and making sure they know that they are heard and that they are seen. And I think that starts in the home, making sure that I always pay attention to my sons and my daughter when they speak, giving them a voice in the home to let them know that when they walk out the door, they have that voice as well. And that's important, and to building up the Black community so that my children are going to be products of their environment. And I need to create an environment to where they make sure they know they are strong, they're loved, they're beautiful, no matter what it takes to do that. Within reason, I try to make sure that my kids know the importance of that, because we need a voice. We do. And it can't just be music. Like a lot of people are like, hey, you want your daughter to do this, or you want your son to do that? I want them to do whatever makes them happy and wherever they're going to be the strongest. Be it math or be it science. I have a strong love for science. Anybody who knows me knows that. Anybody who really knows me knows that. So it's not just music that we can do. There's so many other things and so many other ways that we can shine to make our community remain as colorful as it's always been, and to put that on the forefront.
I think that's very important. I imagine you have a pretty unique perspective on that, especially as a mother in hip hop, like especially a very male dominated genre. Do you have any particular thoughts on that recently?
I will say a shout out to Brianna, Asir, and Jazz, man. Those kids are extremely special. I try to, I look at their generation, but I also look at what I teach them. So I teach them to be open-minded. When it comes to females in music, be it hip hop, be it R&B, be it anything. And I think, man, I feel good right now. I see a lot of females, a lot of women in hip hop doing what they're supposed to be doing. Be it independently, be it being signed to labels, or with a crew, without a crew. You still have to look for it, because obviously, mainstream is still not pushing it, women in hip hop as they should. But hey, outlets like yours and platforms that I look at every day going up and down my timeline, I'm proud right now.
That sense of being proud, are there any particular artists you'd like to take an opportunity to shout out at this point?
Always the crew. I never start this without saying what's up to the crew. So A1, Anti-Lily, Def, Flow, Phonics, we're gonna always shout them out. The chick Sims, Lil Sim, she's dope. There's so many, I don't really want to forget a whole lot of people. I'm listening to a whole array of people. Maybe not so much the newer MCs, but I'm listening to a lot of local folks from out here. Like I did a collabo with Glow Shines. She's from 757. Did a collabo with Piff, Mike Piff Smoke. He's super dope. So those are kind of the people I'm listening to right now. So really Novocaine, cool. Omega, people that I've been rocking with for a while.
With your new series of singles this year, I was incredibly excited to see a portion of your return. What made you decide it was time?
The funny thing is, man, I never really left. Like, I do a lot of features in between time, but I'll be honest with you, like my work during the pandemic gave me some actual thought time, and it kept me really busy. So I said, man, as soon as I'm done with this, the hard work that we do out in the communities, I am going to get right back to writing for me and not just doing features. Because I've been on features every year. But what made me decide to return, like an album return, my biggest inspiration was having a daughter.
And how has COVID specifically, I guess, affected your outlook on that type of thing? Was there a particular moment during your reflection or thought process where you realized that you'd learned something really important?
Yeah, man. Like it made me appreciate my friends and my family a lot more. I was very busy during that time. I did a lot of working, sometimes 7 days a week working. I was able to reconnect with communities again and really identify communities that are in need, or communities where health equity is not what it should be. Healthcare equity is not what it should be. So kind of researching and doing work in those communities, it gave me a reconnection with the importance of public health. And also, to be honest, the opportunity to telework during some of that time made me see how important it is to watch my kids grow up too. I've been sort of a workaholic for a long time, so it gave me a new perspective. It gave me more time to write, gave me more time to spend with the kiddos. And I don't know, so there was good and bad that came out of COVID. I'm over it now, though. Like, I want us to get back together. Yeah.
I feel you on that.
I miss traveling, so it also made me realize how much I love to do that too.
In that vein of helping to improve healthcare, is there anything that you might want to share for a bit of an audience while you have this second of platform about that?
I tell people everything we do is a personal choice, right? But sometimes our personal choices will have an impact on those around us, the people in our communities, be it young or the elderly and our youth. Everything we do as far as our health sort of rolls over into somebody else at some time. So for me, I know everything is a personal choice to get vaccinated, to not get vaccinated. Whatever you do, I just tell people to be safe, and consider others and whatever your decisions are. Know that there are other people around you. I'm not here to be pro-mask or anti-mask. I don't get into that as an MC because I try. I don't know what crowd is watching to say, oh, she's taking this side, and I don't take sides. I just want people to be safe, and I want to see you again soon. I want to see the people I love and the people that listen to the music. I want them to be safe enough so that they're here long enough to talk about it. So that's kind of my bit on that.
So would you say that there's a cherished memory that you hold from before COVID, back when you could interact with fans in a more person-to-person capacity?
Yeah. The last trip I made to France. The last trip I made pre-pandemic was to Cannes with Teo Frank, the gentleman who shot the documentary, the Netflix documentary. And that was a very enlightening moment. Like, he took me to an island with monks. It was like an island of monks out on the south of France. And the reflection that I had that day was amazing. And then the next day I was able to go and perform for some folks. So obviously just the fact that that was my last trip and the last time I really was on stage, I think was the best moment for me.
Do you feel that you perform better when you're able to have those meditative or reflective types of times?
Yes, that is part of the process for me. I have to. Like, I have to have those moments of meditation, and I have to have them daily in order to function creatively. Like, that's extremely important to my process. And meditation is something I absolutely have to do. Like, I'm teaching my 2-year-old to meditate too, which is hilarious. So she walks up to me and said, I'm like, good job, baby. So short meditation. We'll work to it.
And is there a meditation process you use for yourself personally that you feel really kind of balances you out?
The ambiance is important. Like, what's around me, be it, I need quiet, I need peace, obviously. So I tell people all the time, when you meditate, it takes time to clear your mind. So having silence and sometimes being alone is also important and appropriate, like having that maybe 5-10 minutes of me time that I need. So that's part of the process for meditating. No one specific, because I do it probably more than once a day before bed too. So sometimes it's sitting in the middle of the floor, sometimes it's lying in bed. But whatever it is, I try to forget about everything that I can. Meditation, I tell people all the time, is something you learn to do. It's not something that you can just sit down and do. It takes time. They believe it. I don't know if you meditate or not, but if you do, you know how hard it is to actually get there.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenging process. And
yes,
I've read a lot of, I think, very inspiring things about the idea that a lot of people who have very stressful work weeks and very long hours often find that just taking just that 10 minutes can be like the make or break in terms of like mental health and a lot of senses of clarity with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's another thing that this pandemic has taught me. Keeping your mental health in check is extremely important. Like, it is at the top of the list for priorities.
Like, is there some particular media you've been enjoying lately, whether it be music or things outside of it?
It's always been music for me, but I won't lie. I think everybody got caught up in the streaming services during the pandemic. They caught me for a short period, and I said I wouldn't let it happen, but I let it happen anyway. So yeah, there were a few shows and stuff that I watched during the pandemic, but mostly music. I enjoy vinyl collecting, so a lot of mine had to do with, grabbing vinyls offline and stuff like that and opening up something new.
And related to that, do you have some favorite vinyl or particular things you really enjoy coming back to?
Um, I love the the original Shaft soundtrack is huge
Mhm.
for me. The score, the Fugees' score is one of my favorite joints. Queen Latifah's Black Rain album is also something that I keep in regular rotation. Al Green when I think about my mom, because that was one of her favorite artists. So those are a few of my favorite vinyls that I have to pull out and I have to listen to regularly.
About those artists, are there some artists that you might want to do a future collaboration with that would be kind of a dream collaboration or would be really special to you?
Absolutely. Slick Rick is like, and that's another vinyl that keep a heavy rotation. That's like my favorite MC. So a Slick Rick collaboration, I've always admired his style and his just overall package and what he brought to the stage. So him, Roy Ayers, that's a dream collabo. And AZ is a dream collabo for me.
Be some special stuff. Are there any
Yeah.
Virginia artists in particular that you would want to collab with?
You know what? What's funny is the people from Virginia. I mean, of course, like Missy would be
Mhm.
an ultimate collaboration. Like, that's like number one on my list as far as VA goes. All of them, like a lot of talent comes out of VA, and that's what I love about it, especially the 757. Like we
Mhm.
got Missy, we got Timbaland, Pharrell,
Mhm.
and all of those folks are people that I would love love to work with. Extremely talented.
Really important. And are there some
Yeah.
people when you look back on your career that were really important in terms of studying certain artists?
Yes. And I just named one of them. Slick Rick, I studied
Mhm.
him for his charisma, for the humor in his rhymes, and just for raw style and confidence. I studied Queen Latifah because I watched her career evolve.
Mhm.
I think it's important not to be one dimensional. So I really, really studied her career. Like from being the face of like one of the only women in hip hop to carry a whole crew of men on her back was insane.
Mhm.
Like for you to be the face of Flavor Unity, you have these big grown, like tough guys behind you, and
Mhm.
you're kind of pulling that wagon is extremely dope. And then to have your career branch out into acting and whether it's film or sitcoms, she had a crazy career. So I kind of studied that hard for the evolution part of it.
Mhm. And related to that, do you think you would ever want to take some dives into other things, like whether it be acting or writing or something along those lines?
Absolutely. Like writing is something I do now.
Mhm.
So I do intend to publish a work at some point. And matter of fact, Queen Latifah is definitely a feature that I would love to have. So let's not forget to put that in there
Mhm.
in case somebody happens to scroll across. But yeah, so yeah, acting is something that I've always had the idea to do. Like A1 and I
Mhm.
play around sometimes with skits, and that's something that I'm interested in. But writing is probably at the top of my list for the next move, like actually publishing a book.
That'd be great. Is there a particular
Yeah.
subject that you would want to look at?
Yes. My son,
Mhm.
my middle son, he has a very interesting story, and it's something I think should be told. And I can connect it directly to music.
Mhm.
So I'll leave that there, but that's the most important story to tell for me right now.
Is there anything you can share as a bit of a teaser for your upcoming album or project?
Oh yeah, man! I tell you what, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be full of some dope rhymes. I'm trying to get a special feature on that project. So
Mhm.
something that folks should be looking forward to. And I mean, for the most part, I just want to have fun. I feel like It Gets Greater Later it has some fun elements to it, but
Mhm.
I really want to have fun. I really want to, kind of show my lyrical skills a little bit more. And I want to make sure that we have some insane production on there. So we got phonics in the back. I don't know if it gets better, but that's but no, phonics, shout out to my man Dane Chameleon. He's always shown love and had a huge part
Mhm.
of the albums I did, the earlier albums I did, and such a talented brother. So I'm looking forward to some production from him and a couple other folks. But I mean, let's just have fun. We've been through very serious stuff for a couple years. Let's have a good time. Because Tiff likes to talk trash too. So I'm talking a lot of trash, but I want to have fun, be about it, what have you.
I guess in the sense of, are you kind of always keeping in the back of your head, or is it a more sort of focused and meditative process when you're actually saying, okay, I'll sit down and work on this specifically?
Oh no, I'm always thinking about it. Like I'll be in the middle of doing something in the middle of the day and I have legit stopped my car and pulled over in like a McDonald's or a Popeyes parking lot. Like I gotta write this right now. And you should see it sometimes. Sometimes the process is straightforward. And sometimes it's like Tetris. It's like, all right, let me take this line from earlier this morning. Let me take this line from last week. You know, it just depends on what the day is like. Most of the time it's like Tetris though.
I mean, I imagine so, considering how busy you are. I'm actually really impressed by the way that you've taken the time to shout out so many important people and artists. And I was wondering if there was anyone in particular you want to do in this final round.
Oh, shout out to my brother, man, Chad. He's always been grinding hard. That's my brother. He's always made sure that I knew what music was. He was kind of the first one to sit me down and say, you will listen to Pete Rock and CL Smooth. You will, you will listen to certain things. So shout out to him. My sisters, my man Kaveen, who's played a huge part in all of our development. That's, if you ask any of us about that guy, that's the guy. He's the one who pushed us when we didn't necessarily push ourselves hard enough. So shout out to him. And the whole Don't Sleep crew, of course, A1. I've already said them. So A1, Phonics, Anti, Def. And, you know, a super shout out to everybody just working hard. Like I see so much independent music coming out. It's like when you ask me the question, like who I'm listening to, so many names came to mind, but, you know, you don't want to list one without the other. I just appreciate seeing folks work hard because, you know, this doesn't last forever. So at some point, you know, you pass the baton or you pass whatever you need to pass to let folks come in. Because I've been doing this for a long time and I don't plan on stopping, but I do plan on taking some time to watch people progress and grow. And I just got to give a shout out to everybody working hard, stay consistent, you know, and keep working, because what everybody does in this little underground world of ours is extremely important. So it's like a domino effect. We have to keep pushing ourselves and making sure that the independent artists are not being overlooked or missed.
You know, it does get greater later. That's always my hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you having me, man. And I appreciate the questions too. Like a lot of times, you know, the questions are the same. You actually thought that one through. So thank you. And thank you for having me.
I'm really honored you came to do this. It's something that I'd actually been thinking about all the way back when I was first starting these interviews. And I kind of wanted to level up my game a little bit before I would be kind of approaching something like this. So it really does mean a lot.
Yeah, ditto, man. Ditto. I appreciate you so much. And you keep grinding too, man. Keep working and providing this platform. We need it.
For sure. Thank you. Is there anywhere that people can go ahead and find you, whether it be, you know, social media stuff, music?
Oh, absolutely. Google Tiff the Gift, TIFFTHEGIFT. Tiff the Gift Official is the Instagram. Facebook, Tiffany Johnson on Facebook. What else? Twitter. Tiff the Gift on Twitter. So Tiff the Gift. Just Google Tiff the Gift and it'll come up. Albums on Bandcamp, obviously. Bandcamp, Apple Music, and all the streaming platforms. Check it out on Spotify. Spotify is huge for us. So please, if you get a chance to stream on Spotify, throwing that little shameless plug out there, make sure you're streaming the music on Spotify for us. We appreciate it.
Always. Thank you for doing the interview.
Hey, no doubt, man. Have a good one.